Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the virtual meetup today. So on today's agenda, we'll discuss the new emergency debris management solution. And just as a reminder, we are recording this meetup and we are posting the recording to YouTube. And later on in the meetup, we'll have several sections for questions. So if you'd like to submit questions, you can use the Q&A option at the bottom of your Zoom window. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Lindsay and Chris and get us started.
Hi, folks. My name is Lindsay Thomas, and I lead the ArcGIS Solutions public safety team here at Esri. And with me is Chris Delaney, our product owner for Emergency Debris Management Solution. The Emergency Debris Management Solution is designed to help emergency managers, local governments, public work departments to remove debris and expedite financial reimbursement. But before we get too much into that, I do want to introduce ArcGIS Solutions for those of you who may not be familiar with us. So ArcGIS also includes a series of solutions that align with your business needs. They can help transform your use of ArcGIS and also help you maximize the investment you're making in location, data, and technology. These industry-specific configurations of ArcGIS are designed to improve operations, provide new insight, and enhance service. ArcGIS Solutions come with your ArcGIS software already. They're fully supported by tech support, so if you need some help, you can call and get that. And they can be easily deployed within minutes and get them up and running quickly within your ArcGIS Online organization or within ArcGIS Enterprise. In recent years, the frequency and intensity of disasters has increased. And so has the impact to communities. I think we all know that in recent years, it just seems like that has increased. Things are happening more often and the scope of that is bigger. There are many health and safety and economic impacts to a disaster, but debris is often the first and the most visible to a community in terms of an obstacle to recovery. All communities are going to face the challenge of managing disaster debris, but resilience communities use mapping technologies to accelerate their understanding of the debris problem and help optimize the debris management so that the community can actually rebound faster. And we can help you achieve that with the emergency management debris solution. The solution is going to provide capabilities that will help you expedite your initial debris clearance, assess debris removal needs, and monitor debris removal activities. When we started creating this solution, we spoke to a variety of customers who've used ArcGIS in this space to really understand what the challenge they were facing and how we could potentially help them. And we came up with three common themes. The threat to life safety when debris is not cleared rapidly is real. Immediately after a disaster happens, one of the first things that happen is they clear the critical roadways, they clear away that debris and open that up for first responders that are going out to help people, whether to get those folks to medical facilities or shelters, or just give them a little help. A slow debris removal is going to slow the entire recovery process. So we can't start kind of rebuilding, get your house back into a livable condition until the debris is gone. And so anything that slows down this process slows down the rebuilding and turning that around so we can move forward. The risk to non-reimbursement from FEMA for debris removal expenses, that's another challenge. So if you do have a major disaster and you do get a presidential declaration, meaning you're eligible for reimbursement from FEMA, there's a whole set of guidelines and process and kind of forms that you have to fill out to be eligible, and doing that correctly is important. And you want to do it correctly the first time. And so the faster and more efficiently you can do that, that can help you get that money back faster and help the community move on. So to overcome those challenges, and kind of improve the overall community resiliency, we created this solution. And so the mapping and location capabilities we have are things that are going to help clear debris from your roadways quickly, so we can get first responders back on the road. Efficiently assess where debris is happening. So where is it happening in the community? Where was the storm worse on what end of town? Increase compliance with those federal requirements. And finally, helping inform the public of when debris is going to be picked up, how it should be sorted, and all the things you need to communicate to help people get that started. The emergency debris management solution is a comprehensive system that works together for your organization. The maps and apps support the workflow to help clear, assess, and monitor the debris. And they're all designed for the many people that are helping with that debris process. So we have apps that are going to help the first responders that are reporting road debris, all the way to the operations leads, the assessors and monitors, and the different people that are involved in that process. Emergency debris management is supported with ArcGIS Online and will be supported with ArcGIS Enterprise 10.9.1 in the future. And now I'd like to hand it over to Chris, who's going to do a deep dive into the solution and show you how all of this works together.
Thanks, Lindsay, and good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could be with us today. My name is Chris Delaney. I'm the product owner for on the Public Safety Solutions team, public product owner for the Emergency Debris Management Center. And what I'm going to do is show you how the Emergency Debris Management Center Emergency Debris Management Solution supports the entire life cycle of emergency debris management, from the initial road clearance process to the assessment process to the remove process. Starting off in the initial phase leading up to an incident, an event, the first place that I want to start is with the app that you're seeing here, the Emergency Debris Management Center, which is a single destination web app for the office staff, your office staff coordinating your emergency debris response. So this is going to be used by your overall debris manager and your operational leads to manage and monitor progress and update status throughout the entire life cycle of the debris management process. But starting off in the initial clearance phase, the first place that I want to start off is even before the incident happens itself. So as a event is about to happen, one of the first things that operations leads need to do is to train their staff who are going to be out in the field to use mobile apps to support their work. So going to the help page of the Emergency Debris Management Solution, you'll see a page called Access Field Apps. And when we open this up, you'll see 3 pages: clearance apps, assessment apps, and removal apps. These pages are intended to help train workers, enabling them to scan QR codes so that those individuals can be provisioned with the apps that they need. And each page includes training steps for each of the apps, who uses them, and how they can get started with them. So this is really intended to expedite that process. So here's my phone. If I grab the QR code from this particular page, that allows me to either download a quick capture on my phone if I don't have it, or pulls that project open directly for me. And so then moving into the event itself, immediately after a disaster event occurs, emergency managers are going to be deploying first responders or other personnel to go out and identify roads that have been obstructed by debris. We want to be able to clear those roads, especially to critical infrastructure, to hospitals, to police and fire stations, getting those search and rescue teams, getting those medical teams out to provide that life safety support to the community. And so the way that this app can work is it can be used by those individuals as they're driving around, providing a windshield kind of survey, they can happen to see some kind of road obstruction, like this photo right here. I can say I see this is debris completely blocking a road while I'm driving, fat finger click it. I can grab a photo of that debris, make some comments, and now that information is going to make its way into a dashboard in the Emergency Operations Center that is going to be able to be visualized by the debris manager, by the emergency manager, to help plan a response. So as that work is happening, the debris operations lead is in the Emergency Operations Center and has to be able to take that information that first responders are collecting out in the field and assign that out to our field crews to be able to provide that information to them. And so now you'll see from my Emergency Debris Management Center, I came to the clear section and selected the Assign Debris Crews page. And this page is going to enable me as the debris operations lead to assign a field crew to clear debris from the roadway so that I can make that passable again. And the way that this works, relatively simple. We're using a workforce for ArcGIS Workforce project. I can identify a particular obstruction, assign it off to a field crew supervisor, and in turn, that field crew supervisor will have workforce on their mobile device, and from the field, they can come in, they can see any of the jobs that they are currently responsible for. And here are the current active jobs that they've been assigned. I can select one. I can indicate that I've started to work on that. I can capture photos, add additional information about what was done. And then when it's complete, I can note that my clearance crew has cleared that job and that road is clear and open. And that information in turn makes its way back to the operations center, where the debris manager is coordinating with the emergency manager and other stakeholders, and they are able to view in real time all of the road obstructions that are being identified by our first responders using the Road Debris Reporter app, as well as all of the status of the various clearance work that's being done by the clearance crews. So I can see that I've had 13 clearance requests come in, 31% of them are complete. I can see breakdowns by request and type and can filter those on the map. I can see breakdowns by status, and I can see a list of all of the active requests. And as I click on one of those requests, I can pull up and see any information associated with that request and any picture associated with that particular active request. So this enables that emergency manager to liaise with other stakeholders in the Emergency Operations Center to prioritize the handling of these clearance requests, work with the operations leads to get the clearance crews out to the requests that matter most, from opening up arterial roads or roads of significance because they connect to pieces of critical life safety infrastructure, and get those open as quickly as possible. Now, what you've seen involves apps, and after a natural disaster, network connectivity may always not be available to leverage apps in a real-time connected environment. The apps also support being able to manage this in a disconnected environment through the radio. So for example, for assigning debris crews, if I don't have the ability to use the Quick Capture app to automatically detect the locations of have our first responders use the Quick Capture app to detect the locations of road obstructions, I can still use the Workforce project to create new assignments once a first responder radios into dispatch, into the EOC to let us know that they've found an obstruction. We can simply create a new assignment from inside Workforce so that that assignment can be still captured inside of the Emergency Debris Management Center. And likewise, when it comes to managing the status, managing the assignment status of these various apps, I can go to the Manage Assignment Status page, and that's going to give me the ability to batch update the clearance status of some of my various road obstructions. So I can click on the Update Clearance button tool. I can either select an individual point, or I can even just draw a polygon around. I can change the status of these to they've now been completed because my clearance crew radioed in and said, hey, we've finished such and such jobs in the Woodbury neighborhood. These are all done. I can press save. Now they're off the map and they are no longer an active clearance assignment. So in this way, we can collaborate between first responders who are out there identifying locations where debris obstructions have occurred. We can prioritize and coordinate the work of clearance crews who are trying to cut and push debris off of roads to get them reopened. And that can all be done from one single app, the Emergency Debris Management Center, that is being used by the debris managers in the EOC and your operations lead to coordinate those resources and get roads open as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So that was a brief overview of how the Emergency Debris Management Solution can be used to support initial debris clearance operations. But right now, before we move on to how it can be used to support assessment work, I'd like to pause for just a minute to respond to any questions that may have come in through the chat. Matt, do we have any questions from the audience?
So far, no questions coming in yet.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt, and to everyone in the audience, feel free to ask questions at any time as we're going through this demonstration. We'll take pauses at each phase to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, so moving into the next phase of emergency debris management. Once a disaster incident has passed, communities can begin the recovery process by assessing the nature and extent of damage. So this generally means trying to understand where debris exists, what types of debris are generated, and estimating debris volumes. This information then in turn helps communities be able to determine whether they're going to make a request to the federal government for a disaster declaration in order to be able to receive assistance under the FEMA Public Assistance Program under the Stafford Act. But before they can begin that process of going out and collecting these assessments, they need to go and assign assessors to work areas in their community so that that assessor can go and canvass all of the streets in a particular area to find any debris that might be out and about along the roadway. So to do that, they can go first to the operations lead for debris management, can go to the assess section of the app and go to the Manage Assessment Status page. And what we're seeing here is a series of work areas in various colors. Those colors represent the current status of each of these work areas, how far along the assessment process they are. So the yellow means it's an area that's been assigned to an assessor. The gray means an assessment in progress. The various greens represent the how many passes of assessment have been completed by the assessor. And if we scroll up to the top here, you'll notice that there is one section that is still unassigned, meaning it needs an assessor to be assigned to it so that we can start going out and doing some work. To do that, we can click on that particular work area. And this is, again, a work area that we've already loaded into the solution. So you would load your municipal boundaries that you might assign work to. It could be your trash pickup routes. It could be snow plow routes. It could be any other kind of standard public works service area that you are otherwise going to be organizing your recovery activities around. So this area one, I need to assign an assessor to go out and assess the extent of debris in that area. I can click on that, press Smart Editor, and that's going to then enable me to add an assessor. It's going to be Chris. We're going to be giving this to Chris Delaney. Give an email, give a phone number for contact information, and indicate a start date and time. I can then subsequently, as I change status, make a status date indication and a assessment end date when it's completed. As that assessor completes and does their work, I can change the status of the assessment area. And then as I press, oh, I forgot to save there. Whoops. I'm going to just quick change this to assigned and press save. And now you'll see that the color changes associated with that particular area. So that's how you go about assigning assessors to begin the field work of assessment and to be able to manage the status of that work over time. And that assumes that you have existing service areas that you'd like to use to assign assessors out to. But in many cases, damage is localized and the debris assessment is going to be in an area that is not fully encompassed by service areas or is only partially encompassed. To build your own area for the purpose of performing an assessment, you can also use the Create Work Area from Grid tool. This enables you to define a grid from an area or a point. It's going to by default create a grid using National Grid reference system, but you can configure it to meet your needs. I am going to just draw a rectangle here around this localized area. I could configure it to fit a certain number of cells or a certain number of cell widths. And then I'll press the Create GRG tool, and this will have now created a grid for me. I can subsequently publish this into the hosted web layer that exists in all of these various apps for managing assessments and the removal process. And I could then use this as the way to assign my assessors out. So I could give an assessor J1 through 4, for example. I'm not going to do that here in this particular example, but that is an option that's available for municipalities that prefer to be able to assign their assessors out to grid-based work areas instead of service area-based work areas. So once I've assigned all of my assessors, the assessors are now going out and they're going to start to do work. And to do that work, they are going to have a mobile device and they're going to use Survey 123. So those personnel that are assigned to perform debris assessments, they've got to go out and they have to assess each individual pile of debris. They need to be able to understand how big that thing is, and all that information needs to be organized quickly to support the justification for presidential disaster declaration. So a paper process can be very inefficient. The debris assessment form in the emergency debris management solution helps assessors efficiently perform that electronic debris management process on public facilities or in the public right of way by using a Survey 123 form. I can press the collect button. I can then start to document my debris. So I can pick the incident name that this is associated with. You have the ability to manage multiple incidents using the solution at once. So if you're still recovering from a hurricane in the beginning of hurricane season, and then another hurricane hits you in part of your jurisdiction, and you need to manage those separately, you're able to do that. It'll detect my current location. It'll use a reverse geocode to pull the address associated with that location. I can, by default, it'll provide me an assess status. I can pick the type of debris that I am assessing, some vegetative. I can then walk it off. So the pile is about 6 feet long. It's about 4 feet wide. It's about 3 feet high. And then when I put my thumb on the estimated volume window, it'll automatically calculate the cubic yards. So you don't have to have your assessors out having to do math worksheets to calculate cubic yardage for each debris pile they assess. That's done for them. And then they can capture additional details if that's important. Sometimes you know that a pile is not reimbursable and you want to mark that it is not. You can do that if you want. And then you can grab a quick picture of that debris. And now I have a complete record that I can send off. And so that information makes its way to the Emergency Operations Center and to the debris operations lead, who can now visualize it by clicking on the Assess page in the Emergency Debris Management Center. The Assess page brings up the debris assessments dashboard. This enables me as the debris manager to visualize all of my different work areas. In this case, I have 10 work areas. 3 of them have been fully assessed, so I'm 30% complete. And so far, we've assessed almost 14,000 cubic yardage of debris across all of our areas. So that's the number then that is important in going into assisting with a presidential disaster declaration. I can see breakdowns across each of my assessment areas by the status. So I can click on one of these and my areas will filter to reflect that. I can click on one of these particular areas to zoom in, and I can see the breakdown specifically for the amount of volume in that area. I can see breakdowns by debris type and filter by the individual debris types. I can also see breakdowns by assessor or removal status, and then I can view any of the individual assessments themselves. I can also filter by the particular incident if I need to, and I can filter on particular date ranges. So this gives me that ability to visualize not only the individual service areas and the status of the service area and how far the assessor has gotten in completing their assessment for the area that they've been assigned, but I can review cumulative volumes and breakdowns by type of debris and look at individual records themselves. Now, one of the processes that often happens in assessing debris is that it's an iterative process between the assessment process and the removal process. So the assessors will go out, they'll identify debris pile locations, the removal crews will go out and start picking up that debris. And then as communities see the removal crews starting to pick up debris, individuals will subsequently put more debris out at the curb. And so there's often kind of an iterative process where the removal crews make a first pass, then the assessors go out into the service area again and review it again to determine if additional piles have been picked up and if all the ones they originally identified have been completed. And then removal crews will go back out for another pass. So you can also manage that process as well. If you go to the assess page and then the manage assessment status subpage, and you click on the batch update assessment status tool, you can, let's say down here in downtown Baltimore, I've had an assessor go and do a second pass of all of the areas. They can drive street by street. They can review all of the original assessed debris piles. And if everything looks clear, they can just simply call you as the operations lead and say, hey, yep, everything is clear, we're all good. You then can just sort of draw an area and manually change the status of all of those from assessed to removed. And then the status will be updated and all of your numbers will be updated to reflect that those have been completed. Those debris piles have been picked up. So that is a look at how you can use the emergency debris management solution to support workflows around understanding the volume, extent, and type of debris that is in your community as a result of some kind of emergency disaster event. Again, I'll pause there to take any questions from the audience regarding how the solution supports the debris assessments workflow. Matt, did we have any questions come in?
Yeah, and so I think it was back kind of in the clearing state in terms of the questions. So one was, do the quick capture users need a named user account, or is this for like maybe a citizen to submit a report?
The quick capture users do need a named user account. If you had Hub Premium, you could provision them with a community identity alternatively. But yes, the quick capture users do need a named user account.
And then kind of tying into that, or in terms of from the mobile app side, does the app route crews to their next work site, avoiding blocked roads? So as they're working?
The app does not route crews to their next roads, incorporating blockages. It's certainly something that you could extend with the workforce project, but out of the box, it is not doing that level of routing. And the reason for that is in talking to various users, the network connectivity during that initial 72 hours after disaster event is so intermittent that the ability to utilize mobile apps is really variable. And so that was not identified by the users that we were working with as a top priority to be able to support that kind of routing, since many times they're having to do that work over the radio anyway.
All right, and then one last one in terms of, so is this the entire solution, is this available on ArcGIS Enterprise as well?
It is not currently available on ArcGIS Enterprise. It will be available at the ArcGIS 10.9.1 release that will be released later this year. That is the point at which the solution will be available on Enterprise, and then will subsequently be available moving forward, along with all of our emergency management solutions, emergency management operations, and damage assessment.
All right, and then the kind of, I guess the other part of that was at no cost. So that just kind of, so all ArcGIS solutions are just included with the maintenance and the software you've already engaged with Esri. So the things that you've purchased, the ArcGIS solutions come with that. Just kind of add on there.
Yep,
that's all we
Thanks,
have.
Matt.
Questions. Yep.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to get into the last phase of the emergency debris management process, and that is actually removing and the monitoring of the removal process. And so this is generally one of the biggest challenges that municipalities face in the whole emergency debris management process, because it can be very challenging to work efficiently to coordinate an array of different removal providers and crews. Many communities are utilizing contractors for removal work. Citizens and residents have demands to be able to get debris piles off of the right-of-way as quickly as possible. And while you're doing all of that, municipalities need to be very attentive to assuring that if they are eligible for reimbursement under the FEMA Public Assistance Program, that they are following the removal monitoring guidelines and process that are set forth as part of that program. So this part of the solution is intended to help local governments be able to coordinate that process and ensure that the appropriate data is collected to comply with the monitoring requirements of the debris of the FEMA Public Assistance Program. And if you're not familiar with that, at a high level, essentially a chain of custody needs to be established on any of the removal work that is done. So anytime a load gets picked up, it needs to be documented. Anytime it gets dropped off, it needs to be documented. If it gets dropped up to a temporary debris management site, where it is then subsequently reduced and then recycled or taken to a landfill, that needs to be documented. Any of the trucks that are going to be used need to be documented. So it is a very extensive process that involves quite a lot of documentation, so that all of the work that has been done can be properly audited to avoid fraud and to ensure that all of the work that was claimed to have been done was actually completed. So the starting point of this is really around documenting all of the resources that you will need in order to be able to do this work. And to start off, to do that, we go to the remove section of the app and select the manage removal resources and status page. This page is going to let us do some important things as we're preparing to do the removal process. It's going to let us add new debris removal providers or debris management sites to our map. So a debris removal provider might be your municipal public works or your or any other kinds of public works related crews that have the type of equipment that's necessary to pick up and remove disaster debris piles. So you can select a point and click the point on the map and document the point of contact for that provider and the location of that particular provider. Additionally, you can document and manage debris management sites, which for municipalities are generally temporary holding places for debris, where that debris can be sorted, organized, reduced, if it's vegetative debris, into lower volume piles, where it can then subsequently be, as I said, recycled or taken eventually to a final disposal spot like a landfill. This enables you to manage all of those types of sites, their current status, and their locations and contact information, and the types of debris that they are going to be handling, whether it's vegetative, hazardous household waste, electronics, does it have a grinder or a burn site, and does it allow public drop-off? This is all really important information so that you as a debris manager or debris operations lead understand where various types of debris can be put on a temporary basis, and when you want to communicate with residents on what they can do to deliver their own debris to locations, which locations are eligible, and what type of debris they accept. So this tool helps you manage that data. It also helps you manage your work areas. So the same work area layer that you used for managing assessments and assigning assessors out to go assess debris, you can use the exact same layer to manage and assign removal crews to work a particular area. So I can click on a particular service area. I can indicate what kind of provider I'm going to be assigning there. So I'm going to assign a municipal public works. I'm going to assign Baltimore Public Works is going to be handling this area. I'm going to make an assignment, add a contact name, and then you can add as much information as you want, the types of debris, if you've got particular types of crews handling certain type of debris, or they're working a specific schedule, you want people to be aware of that. And then I can just sort of save all this information. And now I have an up-to-date status that I have assigned a removal crew to go and work that area. And so what does working that area mean? Well, they are going to go back and forth down every single street, picking up every debris pile on the right of way, and then bringing them to a debris management site. But before they can do that, all of the contractors or municipal trucks have to be certified. And that means they need to be assessed, and then they need to be measured so that we can document the exact capacity of every single truck that's going to be involved in the removal process. And you'll notice when I click on the debris removal provider, if I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a related table that says certified trucks. And here I can see each of the certified trucks that have been that are associated with that particular provider. Well, how is that information captured? Well, it's captured out in the field by assessors who are assigned to staging sites. And those assessors are going to use a form in Survey 123. That survey form in Survey 123 is called the truck certification form. They're going to click on that, and then they're going to go to their inbox where they will see a list of all of the documented debris removal providers. So a debris removal provider won't show up on this list if you haven't already added them into the debris removal providers layer in the app that you just saw before. So now what I can do is, if I am going to be certifying the trucks for the Baltimore Public Works Department, I can click on them and I can press edit, and I can come in and I can see trucks that have already been certified. And if I want to come capture another truck, I could just press the plus button. But you'll notice here I have all of the kind of key information straight from the FEMA truck certification form: make, model, license, truck ID, the driver name and contact information, owner name and contact information, and then measurements. And this complies exactly with the truck certification form worksheet that is in the requirement of the monitoring program for FEMA. So you go and calculate for the particular type of truck. It could be a dump truck, a extra trailer, or a round bottom truck. You enter in these various values, and then it will calculate for you the total final truck capacity in cubic yardage. So it does the calculation for you without you having to manually complete the worksheet. Document the names of the people who are performing this certification process, and then you can save that. And so once you save that information, that's important because it is subsequently used by the other debris monitors in their forms and the work that they have to do. So let's get into that next step. Once you go from, and I'm just going to click on the remove page so we can see the debris removal dashboard. Once your trucks have been certified, you can begin to start capturing, picking up debris. And picking up debris, anytime a field crew is out working a particular service area, going from street to street, going through, finding all of these debris piles, and then starting to load them up until you have a full truck, and then you bring them to the debris management site. Well, as those removal crews are doing that work, hanging around behind them is a debris monitor. And this is the person that, as a condition of the FEMA Public Assistance Program, is going to be tasked with documenting all of the work that gets done out in the field and then at debris management sites. So there's two Survey 123 forms that support that. The first is the load ticket. This is completed by a debris monitor at a load site to initiate that load monitoring ticket. And when I press collect, this is going to help me document the time and location where debris was loaded and the truck that was used. So I pick incident name. What kind of ticket is it? Is it a load ticket, i.e. I'm loading data I'm loading debris from the field and bringing it to a debris management site? Or is it a haul out ticket? I'm loading reduced debris from a debris management site and I'm bringing it for final disposition to a landfill. So this is the load ticket. It automatically populates the date, automatically grabs my location and geocodes that location, reverse geocodes it. I can select a debris type according to the FEMA classifications. And then you'll notice here that when I select the dropdown in the truck ID number, it's giving me a pre-populating list of ID numbers. That ID number is coming from the list of certified trucks that were certified using the truck certification form. So I cannot enter in a truck that has not been approved for debris removal. So when I select one of these, you'll notice now I have another drop down that says capacity. It gives me only one option. That's because this is the approved capacity, certified capacity for this specific truck. So it's pulling that data from a separate layer, pulling it into this survey to ensure that we have accuracy in how we collect our data. I can enter in a odometer on the truck at the time of the load, the name of the driver. And then you'll also notice in this dropdown, the name of the provider. So I cannot mess this up also. The provider's name is the certified provider, must match. I can add in additional comments if I needed to. And then I could take a picture of the pile of debris that I've just loaded. And now I have a completed load ticket. So I can send this off. And now that truck is off, and that truck can make its way to a debris management site. And that debris management site, once the truck pulls up, there will be another monitor who sits at the debris management site all day waiting for trucks to unload. And they are using the unload ticket. And their job is to complete the entire load, the load process documentation. So they see a truck pulling into the debris management site lot. They click on the unload ticket. They go to the inbox and press refresh. And they can see all of the currently actively collected load tickets that have not yet been completed. And so here is the one that I just completed a minute ago at 2:41. I can validate by looking at the truck ID number that this is the right truck. So I click that one. I can click on loading and I can see all of the information that out in the field, the debris monitor captured. And now I can complete the transaction. And so the first thing I do is note the debris management site that this is being unloaded to. You'll notice that this choice list is coming from our debris management sites layer. So you can't misenter in a debris management site. It can only be one of the actual documented sites. I can grab a date. And then what I'm doing in accordance with the debris monitoring guidance from FEMA, I'm going to be estimating a percentage full that the truck is based on some visual guidelines that FEMA provides. So I look at the truck, and based on how the debris is settled in the truck, I say, okay, that is about 85% full. And so now what the form does is 85% and multiplies it based on the certified capacity of the truck. And then when I put my finger on load size, it automatically calculates 85% of the certified capacity of that truck, which is 12.2 cubic yards. I can then capture another unloading odometer, add my site monitor ArcGIS online user ID. I can note any loading issues or disagreements that the truck driver may have with my assessment of the size of the debris. I can add comments, and then I can take a real quick picture of what the load looked like, so we can have that documentation as well. And then once that's complete, now I have a fully completed load monitoring ticket. And that information in turn is now feeding my debris manager and my debris operations lead in the debris removal dashboard in the Emergency Debris Management Center. So those folks in the office overseeing all the work, they can see all in all, what's the status of each of the service areas. So when a removal crew comes in and says, hey, we've finished a particular area, then the operations lead can come back to the manage removal resources and status page, and they can change the status. And then that enables me in this dashboard to see, okay, 2 of 10 areas are complete, 20% are complete. I can see how much debris has been removed so far. I can see how much has been hauled out of the temporary debris management sites into the landfills. I can click on any one of these individual areas and filter for that particular area and see the volumes associated with that one area. And then I can look at breakdowns by type of debris removed, and I can filter for him. I'm only interested in electronics debris. Where has the electronics debris been, and who and the different people that have been doing that removal work. I can do the same thing for haul out. So when you take debris from the debris management site to a landfill, who's doing that work and what types of debris. And then I can look at any one of the individual tickets themselves, and I can see the loading, who did it, where it occurred. I can see unloading, what percent full it was assessed at, the volume. I can get a unique ticket ID, any comments, and then I can see any pictures that were taken of those debris piles. And so this is creating that chain of custody that's so important for tracking every single piece of removal work that gets done for debris in the entire recovery process. And that's the stuff ultimately that becomes so important for FEMA to be able to audit and ensure that you're complying with the monitoring guidelines. So while you as the municipal entity are managing this process, going street by street, removing these debris piles, you may have a number of stakeholders who also need access to this information. It could be your contractors who need to be able to see a list of all of the work that they've done so that they can invoice you. Or it could also be the FEMA representatives who are on site, who are trying to kind of keep on top of things and make sure that you're in compliance and you're not getting yourself into trouble by not documenting things properly. So to support the needs of those stakeholders to have access to this data, we have another app called the Debris Records Reviewer. This is an app that you can provision to those individuals. You could provision it out to contractors that you're working with, or you could provision it out to FEMA personnel that you're working with. And it's going to give them the ability to see either assessments or debris monitoring tickets. You can filter by a number of different values: truck ID type, driver name, type of debris, load time, monitor name. So really any of the data that you've collected, you can filter by that. And then the user can click on any one of these tickets to review the details associated with that ticket and view any of the photos associated with that ticket. So this enables them to get access to the data to perform the work that they need, including up on the upper right-hand side of this table, the ability to export any selected set of data or all data as a CSV so that they can take that data back to work with it in a way that makes sense to them. And this particular app is also mobile responsive. So I'm going to pull up another version of it in another browser window. It will automatically adjust as you move from a desktop size, as you can see here, to a mobile size. The experience changes to a mobile-friendly layout so that the contractors or FEMA staff who you're working with, and they need to go out in the field and they need to do this work, they can take this app with them and perform that work on the go. Now, the last component of the solution is around working with the public, making sure that you have debris removal of debris is happening in an efficient way requires that the public is playing their role to help get debris to the right of way in a timely fashion and are segregating it according to the way that your municipality requires to be able to handle it efficiently, so that white goods and electronics, for example, are segregated properly. To do that, we have a public-facing app called Debris Removal Services, where an individual can either search for a particular address or they can click a point on the map. And as they click a point on the map, they can see what their service area is, and they can see any nearby drop-off site, including the type of materials they accept and contact information in terms of call or email. So this information is being fed by the data that the debris operations lead is being captured, but it enables you to communicate more clearly with the public, their obligations, and to manage expectations around removal pickup times, and then what they can do to drop off certain types of debris at locations that accept public debris drop off. So just to recap, what you've seen is the emergency debris management solution. The solution helps you quickly remove debris so that you can initiate response activities, assess debris extent efficiently, and ensure that your municipality is complying with federal monitoring requirements during your debris removal operations. To get started, you can visit us at the ArcGIS Solution site and use the new ArcGIS Solution app to deploy it into your ArcGIS Online organization today and enterprise at 10.9.1. Be sure to check out our help documentation that will help you learn how to use not only the individual apps within the solution, but also to configure the solution to meet the needs of your organization. And if you need help configuring, deploying, or extending this solution, please contact your Esri sales representative, and our Esri professional services are available to help support your organization in deploying and extending the solution to meet your needs. I know we're running a little bit short on time, but Matt, I think we probably have a little bit of time for a few additional questions.
Yeah. So first question we got was, are there any features that exist to help or to help live track trucks that are picking up debris? It's kind of live tracking of the vehicles.
We do not have live tracking incorporated into the solution, but you certainly could extend the solution by incorporating ArcGIS tracker and tracker layers into each of the maps. And in the future, as location tracking becomes available in Survey 123, it will be pretty easy to just extend the existing Survey 123 surveys that are part of the solution to support location tracking as well, to support that work. So the answer is no at the first release. That is not a component of the solution, but it is something that we may consider at a future release, and is certainly something that you could configure on top of the solution to support that workflow.
All right. And so next question, are there any features that exist to help for publishing to the public or external stakeholders for monitoring status? So using the kind of status dashboards you're showing, but sharing those with external stakeholders.
Yeah, the last app is really the primary app, and that's really intended to help people understand when to expect removal work. but you certainly could take one of those dashboards and make them publicly available if that was appropriate for the needs of your organization.
All right, and then one more. Can the app be used to identify debris that would be reimbursed by either FEMA or the Federal Highway FHWA ER?
Yeah, so the idea with the solution generally is that this is oriented towards support for municipalities making requests under the public assistance program. So fundamentally, that means reimbursable debris that needs to be removed in public areas or in the public right of way. So by default, you're kind of, if you're collecting data in those areas, those are going to be reimbursable. Examples of things that are not going to be reimbursable are things like debris that is at a commercial location, for example, that would be covered under that individual property owner's home insurance as opposed to covered under the public assistance program. So yeah, the idea with the solution and the individual forms is that they have been aligned with the type of data that needs to be captured to support reimbursement for debris that's removed under the FEMA public assistance program.
All right, so that's all the questions we had.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Please, we love to hear from you on how you enjoy these meetups. This link right here, links.esri.com/September 2021 meetup, will take you to a Survey 123 form. We'd love to hear your feedback on this session and what we can do to improve and any additional other questions you may have. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Matt.
All right, and I've put that link in the chat if you want to click that. I've also posted, there were some questions about the meetup recording. This is recorded. We will be posting this to YouTube. Usually takes a few days, maybe up to a week. So probably middle of next week, you should see a recording on that YouTube playlist that has all of our nice recordings that we put up there. Also, there was a blog post from when this solution was released. Just if you wanted some additional information, I put a link there as well, and in the survey here. So that concludes today's meetup. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate you joining us today. So as a reminder, next month, we are hosting a meetup to show a sneak peek of the new winter weather operations solution. So if you'd like to register for that meetup, go ahead and head over to the meetup groups we have, register there. And then with all of these, we use them via Zoom. So you'll have to use the Zoom registration as well, kind of in tandem there. So you'll get that live meetup experience. We always post the recordings back to there as well. So if you can't make that winter weather operations meetup next month, we'll be sharing the recording. So thanks again for attending today and have a wonderful day. Thanks, everyone.